This is the Smart Poker Study Podcast for players who are always striving to be better today than they were yesterday. Through strategy discussions, Q&As, and Poker Pro interviews, we'll dive deep into everything related to poker tactics, study techniques, and the mental side of the game. All in an effort to improve your skills, maximize your profits, and to make you a lifelong successful player. This podcast is brought to you by SmartPokerStudy.com, and I'm your host, Sky Matsuhashi. Poker people, make sure you check out episode 21, where I showed you how to get the most out of every poker strategy book you read, and to ensure you put to use the valuable lessons contained within. Hey poker people, today is day 26 of 30 in my challenge to release a new podcast every day. Weather report for Fresno, California. It's shaping up to be a gorgeous February day. A high of 69 and quite sunny. It's just me and the boys today, so it looks like I'll be taking them to the park. And that's the perfect opportunity to meet a few neighborhood MILFs. And if my wife's listening, I'm totally joking. I just want to meet one MILF. I hope that weather report helps you wherever you are and whenever you're listening. Alrighty, on to the show. This is the 7th in a 10-episode series where I break down an important aspect within each chapter of Ed Miller's book called The Course. Today we'll cover skill number 7, Emotional Numbing. And stick around to the end because I'll announce a little change to the Amazon Prime Music contest. You'll want to hear this one. So for an episode overview, like the previous episodes in this series, I'll go through this 7th chapter by hitting each step in my 7-step process to getting the most from poker books. We'll discuss the importance of controlling your emotions at the tables, and I'll give you a great way to do just this. And if you haven't already downloaded it, hit today's show notes page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod32 to download your own copy of the 7 Steps to Poker Book Learning PDF to follow along with everything today. Now here it is, today's podcast mission. My mission today is to show you how to work on preventing emotional swings from negatively affecting your game at the tables. So I trust that you have your 7 steps PDF out in front of you. Step number 1 is to skim. So I'm looking through my chapter right now. Skill number 7, it says, is emotional numbing. Just the title alone tells us we are definitely working on our emotional game here. No math, no stats, no complicated hand ranging, just the mental game in this chapter. Looking through it here, our first header is the pitfalls of running good. All right, so we'll talk about run good tilt, I guess, and some of its effects on our game. And he's got a ton of subheaders here in this chapter, or in this part of the chapter for running good, entering unprofitable pots, attacking strong players, trying bad bluffs, adopting pet plays, spending the spoils. The next header is the pitfalls of running bad, and this is the really good stuff, for dealing with the negative effects that emotion can have on our game. And some of the subheaders here are losing aggressiveness, making hopeless calls, preferring all-in plays too often, giving too many free showdowns, all that stuff. So that's going to be a good part of the chapter there. So the next header is all about measuring success, and I guess it's not all about the money that you make at the tables. And the final section is, or the final header is final thoughts. Great, so a summary, kind of an overview of the whole chapter. Looks like it's good stuff. It's 23 pages long, and it's another great chapter where I know we can learn a ton from it. Alright, so now that we've skimmed it and we have a basic understanding of the chapter, we're on to step 2, which is setting a goal for reading. And we want to read productively and effectively. To do this, of course, I've devised 3 questions, and finding the answers to these 3 questions is our goal while reading. So question 1 is, what skills can I learn from this chapter? Well, we'll learn how to handle the emotional swings that come from playing poker, and that will definitely help to improve our play at the tables. Question number 2 is, why are these skills important or relevant to my game? The mental aspects of poker are very important to our overall performance and to our longevity in poker. It makes sense to me that the better you're able to handle the emotional highs and lows of poker, the more likely you are to enjoy the game and you'll be a lifelong player. And question number 3 is, how can I implement these skills in my game? Well, let's read and find out how we can control our emotions at the tables. So, of course, step number 3 in the 7-step process is to read. And yepers, this is another great chapter from Ed Miller. No technical poker stuff at all, just all mental game, and so much of it. To get the most out of this chapter, you've got to read it for yourself. I recommend picking up this book, as there's too much for me to unpack for you in this one episode. If you haven't done so already, you can purchase the course through my Amazon affiliate link in the show notes for this page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod32. And one thing that Ed Miller said that I'd really like to focus on for the rest of this show, and I quote, is, once you're playing consistently at the 2-5 level or higher, you absolutely have to find a way to deal with the game's emotional ups and downs. You need to find a way to numb yourself emotionally to a lot of the day-to-day noise in your results. So that's a great point. Poker has its ups and downs, and whether you're profitable or not shouldn't really affect how you play that next session. But those ups and downs can definitely swing back and forth from day to day. Many of us, and of course I include myself in this, allow the swings to affect us too much. I know that for myself, tilt used to be a huge part of my game, and I've worked hard to get this under control. I'd say that I've got it like 70% under control if I had to give it a number, so it's still something I work on before, during, and after every single session that I play. So after reading, we're on to step 4, of course, which is summarize and analyze. So to summarize, very simply, finding a way to deal with the emotional ups and downs will improve our play at the tables in every session we play. Nice and simple, right? So when it comes to the next part of this, analyzing our play, understanding when our emotions run high is the first step to controlling them. The more you understand, the better position you'll be in to stop these emotions from ruining a session or ruining your bankroll or the profits that you've made the past week, month, year, whatever. So let's get to work and analyze our game on an emotional level. To do so, I've got a few questions for you, so whip out a piece of paper and answer them for me right here and now, pausing the podcast while you do so. And come on, this is an exercise in improving your game that you can do right now. And make sure to save this paper, as you'll use it to improve your game before, during, and after your session later today. So the first question is, what is the cause of negative emotions while you play? It's different for everybody, of course, but some causes of negative emotions could be bad beats, losing to certain opponents, a mistake, making a mistake, or getting drawn out on. All of those could lead to negative emotions. The next question is, what is your history with this? So, knowing the history of your negative emotions helps you to realize how damaging these are to your game and to your bankroll. What are the terrible things that have happened because of negative emotions and tilt? Have you lost 4 buy-ins in one session? Have you had losing stretches of 10 days or more? Did you go on a 30,000 hand downswing or like a big long break-even stretch? So those are some of the things, when thinking about our history. The next question is, what are the first effects of negative emotions taking over? So as you're playing, you need to recognize when things are starting to get out of control. Maybe your hands are clenching into fists, you're yelling at the screen, your body suddenly slumps into your chair, you start throwing your mouse, or you maybe barely breathing, does your face get all red and hot? So basically, what are the physical manifestations of your negative emotions taking over? The next question is, how does it escalate, and when do you decide to finally quit a session? So what do these initial effects lead into if you don't quit playing and your tilt gets worse? Maybe your clenched fists, maybe you start pounding them on the desk, you're banging your mouse as you move it around on the mouse pad, maybe you grab that My Little Pony doll off your desk and throw it across the room or whatever, I know you're a brony, so it's cool with me. To each his own. I won't say anything to your buddies. The next question is, what C-game effects do these emotions have? So how does your skill or technical game change while tilting? Knowing this gives you concrete ways to counter your natural instincts when you're going on tilt. For example, when I get beat in a hand by a complete fish and he sucks out on my pocket aces or something, I can start to get really vengeful and I try to play more pots than I should against that same player, and I'm doing this in order to try and win back my money. So now that I know how this tilt affects my game, I can focus on not allowing my game to change in this way. This becomes a thing that I can focus on correcting while I'm suffering these emotions. So I might still be in some emotional turmoil of some sorts, but at least I'm recognizing its effects on my game and I'm working to keep my game on point. The last question is, what are some logic statements that can help you deal with emotional turmoil at the tables? So logic statements help you think through a problem as you're facing it. In the case of my problem of getting vengeful, a logic statement I use is, revenge is irrational, use your anger to spur you to play better. I say a logic statement to myself in every warm-up, and it's close at hand when I'm playing so I can refer to it as necessary. So write down a logic statement to help you think through whatever negative emotion you've been writing about so far. Alrighty, now that we have this piece of paper with our emotional game analyzed, we'll take this into the next step in the 7-step process to getting the most from poker books. And of course, that next step is step 5, taking action, which is the most important step in this entire process. You will use this piece of paper in your warm-up while you play and during your cooldown. If you want more info on warm-ups and cooldowns, listen to episode number 5 where I broke these down fully. And as you play, be aware of your emotions, and at the first sign of some inner turmoil, whip out this paper, read your logic statements, and the effects of these emotions have on your technical game, and prepare yourself to fight it. This is kind of an internal struggle with yourself, and I know that you've got it in you to get past it. At the end of your session, add any details about your emotions to this sheet of paper. Maybe you experienced nothing at all, and that's great. Or maybe your emotions manifested themselves in a new way, or your technical game changed in some completely different way than you'd ever experienced before. Add these to the sheet so you can better prepare for it next time. And of course, as always, at the end of your session, answer the following questions. How do I feel about the session played? How did I like employing the skills I learned, in this case, mental game or emotional control? And do I think this skill has some value, and does it merit further review before fully integrating it into my repertoire? So after you play the session, of course, step 6 is assessment. And when it comes to working on your mental game, you don't need to wait until the next day, like if you were working on your C-betting game or 3-bet game. And in fact, working on it just after your session is rather important. Like already mentioned, add details to the sheet you're working on and assess how your emotions affected your session. And of course, step 7 is rinse, repeat, review. Now that you've taken action and made this initial assessment, it's time to take action again in another session and work on controlling your emotions. Just repeat steps 5 to 7 here for as long as it takes until you feel this emotional state is under control. A really important aspect to the mental game is that it's ever changing. You can suffer from revenge tilt 1 month, then once fixed, maybe a new tilt like entitlement tilt will emerge. Now you can go through the same steps you just took to fix any new emotional swings you encounter. Challenge! Here's my challenge to you for this episode. Do everything I just discussed for your next few sessions. Pick one mental game issue that you have and put everything you can towards getting past it. Answer all the questions, refer to the sheet in your warm-up, keep it in front of you as you play, and say your logic statements to get you through any emotional swings. This can only strengthen your game. Now it's your turn to take action and do something positive for your poker game.
Oh, that's it now. Get out there and be somebody. Go write a book.
So to recap the episode, we talked about skill number 7 in the course, and we discussed the importance of controlling your emotions at the tables. I gave you a great way to analyze your emotional swings at the tables, and had you answer some questions that the answers of which will help you stay in control. I ended with a great challenge to work on your mental game starting today. And speaking of the mental game, I'd be remiss if I didn't recommend picking up Jared Tendler's book, The Mental Game of Poker. This has helped me out tremendously, and I just know that it'll do the exact same thing for you. And if you need a little bit more info before you buy the book, I did a podcast on it, so go back to podcast number 19 where I discussed The Mental Game of Poker. Please go to the show notes page at smartpokerstudy.com/pod32 for everything mentioned here. And while there, make sure you pick up the 7 Steps to Poker Book Learning PDF. Thank you so much for listening today. Send me your constructive feedback through the show notes page. You can also send an email to sky@smartpokerstudy.com, tweet me at smartpokerstudy, or post in the Facebook group at smartpokerstudy.com/discuss. And I need your questions for the Friday Q&As. Please keep sending them in. So earlier I mentioned the Amazon Prime Music Contest. Well, I've decided to make a little change to the prize. Instead of a free hour of coaching, I'm going to give away a copy of the Freedom Journal. This is an incredible leather-bound book that helps you set and attain SMART goals in 100 days. And if you remember back from episode number 2, SMART stood for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I supported this book on Kickstarter and received a few copies, and this is your chance to win your own copy for free. All you have to do is sign up for a free 30-day free trial to Amazon Prime Music through me. With your free trial of Amazon Prime Music, you'll enjoy unlimited ad-free music streaming from thousands of playlists and stations. Plus, and this is the best part for you, free 2-day shipping. And the best part for me is your signing up supports me as this is one of my affiliates and I get a little kickback for each one. So please visit the show notes page and click on the Prime Music banner at the top for this killer offer. This contest will run through February 29th, so sign up before then and email me a screenshot of your Prime Music confirmation. Alrighty, poker people, be sure to come back for tomorrow's episode number 33, where I continue in Ed Miller's book, The Course, for skill number 8, Exploiting Aggression. We're going to learn how to deal with those aggressive maniacs. Word of mouth is the best advertising, and a recommendation from you to your friends would be most appreciated. If you enjoyed our time together and learned a little something, please share it with that cute chick in the drive-thru. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.